that dark net between every single Defcon group here. And the auspice that someone could exfiltrate data through that dark net on a viable production target that would violate law definitely is a consideration and a concern. So while we may espouse the ideas that yes, we do need to connect, we definitely have the finer details of the allocation of resources and what type of rules that we can apply. For that, I will defer to the EFF for further comment, but if you have anything regarding, like, consider this a call for papers. If you have an idea, if you have a mitigation of that risk in mind, please respond to it. I know there's a question and answer after this. I'm sorry I won't be able to be part of, but do not, stop from emailing the list with a, hey, here's how we do it. Ideally, we trust one another. I mean, we can have two networks, one for the communication of viable resources, attack resources, and others, and we can have a hijinks network that has no public access available.
And yeah, I mean, at the risk of worrying about sounding with exclusivity or anything, I mean, it would be very easy for like us and Black Lodge to work together, because the members of your place and our folks, we've known each other for years. So
right.
We can start to build those personal relationships in the network that way too. I mean, it's not as quick, but it's definitely something that can be done where I absolutely know Londo is not going to do anything to screw me over, so we can work with them on this.
Right, but it's not that we can trust every single member that we have, because that trust is built up over time. So, I mean, it's just something you have to, I think deferring to the EFF on that one and deferring to common sense is another thing.
I mean, Tor has a great implementation for exit node protection. I don't know if you've ever run an exit node from Tor, but you get this nifty little email from EFF saying, while people may be doing illegal things through your client, that machine needs to be sandboxed outside of an accessible area of your network. No one has ever been prosecuted for running a Tor exit node. And keep that in mind at all times, that is the #1 reason why you should all go get a Mohawk and donate to the EFF. I mean, like, to be realistic with it, this is why we donate to the EFF, because we have real risks that directly affect the implementation of a cohesive Defcon group organization, as well as a community as a whole. We do have ways to mitigate that. So, I mean, mind you, money is one way you can show support of it, and building on trusted relationships is definitely another. So.
I think it's important to note that while we want to mitigate the risk, you shouldn't be doing it through a whole bunch of legalese in your membership documents. I know some hackerspaces like to put in clauses in your membership so that like they own everything you do in there, or you're not allowed to do illegal hacking. So don't put a leash on the people in your organization just because you want to mitigate a little bit of your risk. I mean, you have resources like the EFF, and I just felt like it was important to note.
But on the other hand, the hackerspaces tend to run as small organizations, and in some ways, to get nonprofit status, actually form formal organizations. And because of that, they need bylaws, they need to be concerned with legality. Have you guys addressed that at all?
Well, once you move past a certain size where it's not the little group club anymore, and you move past the kind of 8 members, and you start to get real businesses that you're renting space from, and now you're inviting more people from the community who may not be a part of your space or may not be a part of your regular group of friends. You need to consider yourself a business and start to treat things a certain way. So it gets a little sketchy. Of course, you can definitely overdo it. We went a little overboard at first, and then we backed down a little bit to what seems to be the right level. It's a tricky thing. You have to look at it, and honestly, small business courses really help in that. So if you've never taken one of those, it doesn't hurt.
Well, you can, when it comes to lodge, or rather hackerspace rules and obligations and legalese that's getting in the way, you can always protest and vote by not attending. I mean, hackerspaces that are collaborative efforts between groups or within groups, we're not dickbags. And
Douche
people,
canoes.
well, yeah, okay, I'm speaking for us, not everybody, but people like coming to a group that they feel a support network for, that they feel is expanding their knowledge and giving them a free and open space to work. if you're locking all your shit down and people don't want to come to share ideas, they just want to come to leech. I mean, you know, you can have a group that will go on with the 3 members, and those 3 guys will keep paying their dues, and no one wants to go hang out with the dickbag clan. And then those people, everybody that wants to create a collaborative, like an open space, there's nothing stopping you from starting another hackerspace.
Along those lines, you really don't want to fragment your hacker scene too much in your local area, but there's nothing stopping you from having multiple Defcon groups or hackerspaces.
You got to always avoid the drama llama, but you know, people that are holding back, you know, the sharing of knowledge definitely need to be shut down, in my mind. But I mean, there's also not just in the group that you belong to or the group that you're thinking about doing, there's other groups that we're up here. If we can have more of a global, you know, connected, collaborative sharing of ideas, and the reason we're having the panel, you know, give you the thoughts to go out and spread and mutate and make your cool shit in your own time.
Okay, let's take some questions. We got some waiting.
Yeah. Just as a quick comment to that, there are, you know, a number of lawyers who attend Defcon every year, and if you get to the point where it matters, you know, talk to the groups. I know a couple of them, some other people here. You know, just go through the network, you'll find somebody. But a lot of the time, you know, you get nonprofit status, don't sweat it. It's, you know, you're a disconnected entity. It's the group, it's not you, unless you're the guy who went and messed up somebody's system. You know, like, and this will vary state to state, but in the state of Maine, if I'm volunteering for somebody, you know, and I'm like, I volunteer at a railroad museum every now and then. If I'm driving the train, the thing jumps off the tracks and, you know, 20 people die, as a volunteer in that capacity, I can't be civilly sued.
Yeah, definitely.
There are a lot of different state protections when you're in the nonprofit world as opposed to being Google. So, you know, if you're concerned about it, speak to a lawyer, but you shouldn't have to have your members signing like 2-page, 3-page, 15-page documents. You've gone the wrong way if you get there.
I agree. If you have legalese to limit your liability as a group to an individual's action, you definitely have segmented yourself from the path you should have taken. The way federal laws work are a little bit different, and if people talk state to state, you know, we're talking about more or less interstate communications. So when you look to the federal laws, they're more reactionary. So if you do have a nonprofit that's associated, you know, in performing a function, and an individual acts badly, the group is not going to be liable. But ultimately, you should honestly defer to the EFF. The same way Tor exit nodes are operated would directly affect the way your exit nodes are operated within your own VPN. That law is the same. I'm not a lawyer. Like I said, you should ask the EFF, and I agree completely with his point of if you have a disclaimer that reiterates federal law, you're going the wrong way. But if it's your bylaws, saying, dude, if you act an ass, you're gonna get kicked out. Well, I mean, that's appropriate, you know, but like, you shouldn't even have to write those. If you have to write those, you're still doing it wrong, so.
From the community aspect, I'm with I3 Detroit, founding member, and we've had a really positive experience with the high school robotics clubs, especially with high schools continually shrinking budgets, and we've actually, unfortunately, one of them completely lost their funding. Have you guys had good experiences with bringing in high schoolers? And we've been running for about 2 years now, and it's really awesome that we're now seeing this generation of high schoolers who are now 18, you know, going off to college and coming back in the summer, and they're our next generation of membership. So rather than being a dick to the little kids, like, it's really benefiting us to just basically deal with a couple of broken drill bits here and there, and, you know,
we deal with that with we deal with that with members that aren't in high school. That
no. Specifically on your point, I think we should shove it down even lower. DEFCON kids, point, right? I have a 10-year-old daughter, Sparkle. She created the first DEFCON kids group, DC Teaching 5 Kids. She gets in Ruby, JavaScript, PHP, MySQL. She enjoys social engineering. She writes RPGs, and she is 10. She participates on the MIT Scratch forums as part of the IDE open source development project. The premise is, who the fuck cares if they break something? It's nothing you can't fix or replace. What we have to do is train the generation coming up. Listen, we don't naturally perpetuate. I mean, this is not something that goes on, without being pushed. Forget high schoolers. I want Lego Mindstorm kits in the kindergarten classrooms. I mean, we're not playing here. I mean, we have generations of kids that are going to be growing up in an ever-evolving environment of threats, of areas that they can create, and we have to propagate those interests from the get-go. We have to actually inform them, sit down, take the time, and say, okay, let's play with this Arduino board. Let's turn a motor. Let me show you how this operates. Let me show you how this. I mean, whatever the kid is, whatever the method is, you cannot be afraid to show children and to show the earlier generations how to protect themselves, how to build, and how to create. If we deny that, I know a lot of people have diverse opinions on Defcon kids. But if we deny the ability of our earliest generations at their prime points with their aptitude set on hacking or evolving, our community, then we are doing ourselves a disservice. And as much as people don't like kids running around Defcon, I mean, it is our social scene. You have to remember that there are already kid goons. There are already kids who know how to social engineer, and if you have kids, I would rather your kid know how to detect someone social engineering them than be victim or subject to it. And it goes along the lines, this is what we are here for. Plain and simple.
Plus, you can't knock the feeling you get when you teach someone like kids and stuff like that how to lockpick for the first time, and you see their face when they bust open that lock, and then you look at the person who's in their 20s and 30s next to them, sitting there frustrated, like they can't even believe what just happened next to them.
And you see their parents absolutely in fear of what you just did.
But it's also very cool to teach people who haven't seen all this stuff, my failures and my mistakes, and go, hey, look, this is how you can do it a different way, and guess what? I learned from it. So it's kind of it's somewhat selfish in that respect, but it's a good kind of selfish.
Even if you're, just doing something stupid like showing a kid how to punch out, Funky Town or Mario Brothers on DTMF tones, you can teach them DTMF.
Just teach them how to solder, and then that way you have free labor when you need giant LED matrices done. It's really nice.
And I would agree that getting the younger generation involved is really important. But as far as schools goes, I don't know if it's just me, but I happen to get chased off of every school I go to and try to talk to them about Defcon meetings. Maybe I'm just ugly, I don't know, but I've had bad experiences with school, or I guess government institutions in general when it comes to DC 414.
So
I think it's the mustache.
It might be, it's the stash. It scares people, I guess.
can you repeat that? Because he couldn't understand you. It's hard to hear up here.
Yeah, the reverb's pretty badly. So.
Who? What?
Black, tell him who you want to repeat what.
Yeah.
Anarchy Angel.
Yeah, the guy leaning back who just spoke.
What was?
Speak this way. We can't hear you because of the reverb.
Basically, what I was saying was, I've had bad experiences with going to schools about getting the word about DC 414. I wasn't sure if it was just because I was ugly or my mustache, but I get run off of all the schools I've ever been to try to talk about getting kids to come to DC 414. It's just, I don't know if it's our area. Maybe other people in other states have had better success, but just in our schools, they hear the word hacker and I don't know, it turns them off, or even computer security seems to, people are, at least in our state, are timid around it. I don't know why, but.
Well, there's some balance that you have to have, because at the lodge we do have some, like 21 and up, we have some adult-oriented events, or, with the issue with kids.
You need to rephrase that a little bit.
Well, what?